Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we really unpack the sources you've shared, aiming for the clearest, most insightful take. Today, we're plunging into, well, big one. Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. You know, it's one of those books, everyone feels like they know it, right? But the layers, the quiet power, they just keep revealing more year after year. Our mission here isn't just like a nostalgic look back. We're going to pull this masterpiece apart a bit, look at the characters, the themes, and really why a story from 1960 set way back in the 1930s South still feels so relevant, why it holds up a mirror to us now. We're working from a pretty detailed review, so that gives us a good lens on this classic. So yeah, get ready to maybe see it fresh. Let's unpack this.
It really is amazing, isn't it? How a story so rooted in one specific time, one place, just transcends all that. I think the enduring thing about Mockingbird is how it taps into these really fundamental human things. You know, the fight for justice, growing up, finding courage. Like the whole struggle around Tom Robinson's trial that isn't just about Maycomb back then. It's this timeless commentary on bias, on systems that, well, you still see echoes of today.
That's a great way to put it. And to really get those universal truths, we kind of have to start right there in that specific place. So imagine Maycomb, Alabama, fictional town, yeah, but feels real. Baking the Depression heat, 1930s, it's like slow-moving, rigid social rules, things simmering underneath. But what makes it so intimate, so unforgettable, is we see it all through Scout Finch's eyes. She's this curious, outspoken little kid. How does her view shape things for us?
Well, Scout's perspective is, I think, Lee's masterstroke, really.
Yeah.
The 1930s South, I mean, it was a crucible, right? Deep social divides, racial lines, poverty, tradition. Putting Scout right in the middle lets the novel mix warmth, humor even, with these incredibly heavy issues. Her innocence, as it sort of evolves, it acts like a filter. We see the injustice, the adult hypocrisies through her dawning understanding, not through, jaded adult eyes. It kind of forces us, the reader, to question things alongside her.
Yeah, it's brilliant how that keeps it from feeling like a lecture, even with the heavy stuff. And Scout's not alone, of course. The characters are really the heart of it all. You've got Scout, Jean-Louis, our narrator, figuring things out, and Jem, her older brother. His journey is huge, watching him mature, grapple with things. He feels the injustice so keenly. His idealism takes some hits.
Yeah.
Holding it together, Atticus Finch, their dad. He's a lawyer, sure, but he's more. He's the moral center.
Yeah.
Integrity, wisdom, this quiet, formidable courage.
Absolutely. Atticus is the anchor. His principles really set the whole conflict in motion. And while the Finches are our guides, there are two other figures absolutely critical, even if they're not always center stage. There's Tom Robinson, black man, falsely accused. His trial becomes Maycomb's moral test, really. His fate just lays bare the prejudice of the time. And then there's Boo Radley, the mystery neighbor, right? All the rumors, the fear. Starts as this figure of kid superstition, but his role at the end, it has this whole other layer about understanding prejudice, unexpected heroism. Both Tom and Boo, in their own ways, become really symbolic.
You're right. They're not just characters. They carry the book's biggest ideas. And that gets us right to the core themes, the stuff that still hits home today. This isn't just history. It's about us. You mentioned Tom Robinson's trial. Let's start there. Racial injustice. How does Lee make us feel how systemic it is, not just, one bad guy?
Well, the trial is just a masterclass in showing it, not telling it. Lee doesn't just say racism exists. She demonstrates how deep it runs. You see it in, the casual way that Yule's testimony is accepted, even though it's full of holes. You see it in the jury's quick verdict, despite clear evidence. And the town's sort of quiet complicity. Think about when Link Dees, Tom's employer, actually stands up in court, tries to vouch for Tom. He gets shut down immediately. That small moment shows how speaking out was actively suppressed. It indicts the whole structure, not just individual meanness.
Yeah, it's tough to watch that unfold, especially knowing the kids are seeing it. Which leads right into that other big theme, the loss of innocence. How do Scout and Jem sort of experience that? Is it different for them?
It's definitely a painful wake-up call for both, but yeah, they process it differently. Jem, being older, his loss of innocence feels more shattering. He really believes in fairness, in the system, and the verdict just rocks his world. You see his idealism crack. For Scout, maybe it's a bit slower, more gradual, but just as deep. She starts seeing the hypocrisy, the cruelty in adults she looked up to. Their world isn't just getting bigger, it's fundamentally changing shape because of this collision with prejudice. They have to shed those naive views of Maycomb.
But it's not all bleak, is it? Out of that loss, you also get moral growth and that huge theme of compassion and empathy. This is where Atticus shines, not just as a dad, but as a teacher for all of us reading. That famous line, climb into another person's skin and walk around in it. Simple, but so powerful. How do the kids actually learn to do that, though? What's it look like?
See, Atticus's idea isn't just a saying, it's woven through everything. He models it. You see scouts starting to apply it, not just to Tom Robinson, but in smaller ways too.
Mhm.
Remember her bumping heads with Miss Caroline, her teacher, or trying to understand cranky Mrs. DeBose? Atticus pushes them, gently, to understand why people act the way they do, even when it's ugly. And then, at the end, scout on Boo Radley's porch. Literally seeing the neighborhood from his view. That's the full circle. That lesson becomes their moral compass. It's about actively trying to see from another's viewpoint, even when it's uncomfortable. It's key to the whole timeless message.
That moment on Boo's porch, chills. It really is unforgettable. And speaking of unforgettable, the symbolism, it's so powerful. The mockingbird, what's that really about?
Well, the mockingbird symbol is actually explained right in the book, isn't it? They don't do anything but make music for us to enjoy. They don't harm anyone, so
Yeah.
killing one is just senseless cruelty. And that symbolism is devastating because it applies so clearly to characters like Tom Robinson. He's harmless, decent, destroyed by prejudice, metaphorically shot down. But it also extends to Boo Radley, right? He's harmless, even heroic in the end, but so misunderstood, ostracized by fear and rumor, damaged by the town. So killing a mockingbird becomes this shorthand for destroying innocence, hurting the vulnerable out of ignorance or hate.
Yeah, tying Tom and Boo to that symbol just hammers home the injustice. Okay, so we've dug into why it's powerful, but why does it stay so highly rated? Our review gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Beyond the feels, what are the solid strengths that earn that praise? I mean, Atticus alone, people call him one of the greatest fictional role models ever.
It's more than just emotion, definitely. It's the craft, the moral clarity. Atticus isn't just a good dad. He's like an archetype of moral courage, showing that real bravery is often standing up for what's right, even knowing you'll lose. His quiet integrity, his belief in due process, his dignity towards everyone, even the people attacking him, that's compelling. And the writing itself, the vivid descriptions, the character depth, Scout's unique voice, it's just beautifully put together. It lets you live it, not just read it.
And its relevance now. How does a story set way back then still speak to us here in the 21st century?
Oh, the relevance is stark, really.
Mm.
Mockingbird holds up a mirror to our own ongoing struggles, inequality, compassion, justice. Think about today's conversations. Racial bias in the justice system, trying to build empathy in a polarized world. The courage it takes to speak truth to power, the echoes of that Macomb courtroom where truth gets buried under prejudice. You hear those echoes in debates about systemic injustice now. The book doesn't give easy answers, but it forces us to ask hard questions about our own communities, our own biases. It pushes for that uncomfortable, necessary dialogue.
So true. It makes you look inward. But okay, even classics get critiqued. For a balanced view, we should touch on the criticisms that have come up. What are the main points people raise?
Absolutely fair enough. While it has huge strengths, a big modern criticism centers on the idea of a white savior narrative. The argument is basically that while the intention is good, the story focuses on the white hero, Atticus, and his moral journey, rather than deeply exploring the lives and viewpoints of the black characters who are the actual victims. It raises valid questions. Whose story is it? Who has agency? Does the narrative, even fighting racism, end up using black suffering mainly as a way for white characters to grow? This critique really grew as literary studies started focusing more on marginalized voices.
That's a really important point to consider, yeah. Thinking about whose perspective dominates. Any other common critiques?
Yes, another one you hear sometimes is about the pacing. For readers used to faster, maybe more action-packed plots, Mockingbird can feel slow. It's very character-driven, takes its time building Macomb's atmosphere, developing the relationships. Now, for many, that slow burn is a strength that lets you sink in. But for others, it can feel like a bit of a hurdle. But, even with these points, the review's conclusion holds firm.
Yeah.
It's still an essential read. For literature, morality, human rights, its deep dive into human nature, prejudice, empathy, it just makes it enduringly powerful.
It really is one of those books that just stays with you, starts conversations that last for ages. So wrapping up this deep dive, the essence of Mockingbird, it's this powerful, layered story about courage against injustice, the sometimes painful power of empathy, and that long road to understanding prejudice. It challenges us really to see the world differently, maybe better, just by trying to understand each other. Highly, highly recommended for anyone, any age, wanting to think about, well, being human.
And that core lesson from Atticus, climb into another person's skin, it feels more relevant than ever, doesn't it? I mean, as we navigate our own complex, divided world, think about how that principle applies day to day. How do these themes, justice, understanding, that quiet courage, how do they play out around us? Subtly, maybe not so subtly. The novel isn't just history, it's kind of a living prompt for reflection and maybe action.
A really profound thought to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into To Kill a Mockingbird. Keep exploring these ideas. Remember, sometimes the biggest lessons come from the simplest stories, the ones that resonate the most. We'll catch you next time.